Hello, friends. Hope you're doing wonderful. And I wanted to talk about this notion of safety and the notion of intimacy within ourselves today. One of my mentors recently shared a quote, and I wanted to share this with you all. And the quote was, "What would it look like to be naked with yourself while fully clothed? What would it look like to be naked within yourself while being fully clothed?" And I just got off a coaching call a couple of hours ago with one of my clients who happens to be a coach, and she is in a committed relationship. She was talking about how she desired a greater level of connection with her partner, a greater level of emotional intimacy with her partner. And she was feeling like sometimes he doesn't understand, sometimes he doesn't get it, sometimes she feels like there's a disconnect between her childhood, her upbringing, and his childhood, his upbringing. And perhaps maybe if he were a coach, it would be different. It was really interesting because as soon as she was talking, she caught herself and she said out loud, "Karishma, actually, that's not even true. That I think even if he were different, I would still have these walls around myself and I would still be showing up the same way." And that awareness, that ability to look at herself after a few months of our regular discourse was so huge because she started to get it. You are projecting yourself out to the universe all the time. What's crazy is we live in an upside down universe. We think our business is a reflection of us. Our parenting is a reflection of us. Our bank account is a reflection of us. Our relationships are a reflection of us. But what we don't realize is that everything is us. And I'm going to give you all a quick psychology lesson. Most of our unconscious behaviors were formed by the age of 7. Most of our emotions, most of our mind, most of our behaviors, most of our decisions about how the world should be and how we should be in the world came from under the age of 7 when we were not even conscious. And unless we're willing to do this deep work of really being able to look at ourselves, we end up projecting that unconscious out to the world. We end up basically being that child out in the world and projecting our distortions, projecting our incompletions out to the world. And what that means is if we haven't really owned our true worth and value, owned that we are abundant, owned that our value comes from within us, not from what's outside of us, right? It's such a crazy concept. And especially being an Indian woman, my entire life, I was taught that success equaled accomplishments. My sense of worth was a result of my accomplishments, a result of my grades. Then it was a result of my bank account, a result of my salary, and so on and so forth. But the bizarre thing is our abundance has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with who we are on the inside, which leads me to the word safety. And that's going to be kind of our word for the day. When I think about parenting, my safety today isn't about whether my kids are accomplished or making good grades or how they are in the world. My safety is in my ability to truly be all of me, to be in my power, for me to realize, wait a minute, what patterns are there in my life? Am I being conscious as a parent? Am I giving in to my previous good girl tendencies, my previous people pleasing tendencies? Or am I willing to put all of that on the back burner? Being willing to not be liked by my children, not be loved by my children because, oh my God, mom can be a little strict. Mom can say no. Mom can push back. Mom isn't going to agree with everything that we say. And am I willing to stand in my power, in my authority, in my sovereignty, in my divinity as a strong woman who happens to be a single mom? When it comes to relationships, am I willing to be in my power? And a lot of times I feel like in relationships, we give our power away. And what happens is we end up projecting our own incompletions into our partner. And I had this realization, this massive realization over the weekend. I'm going to share it with you in just in the state of vulnerability, where I was talking with my partner about posting, and I've been posting content around these podcasts for the last 7 or 8 weeks that I've had the podcast. And I've been talking about really leaning into my fears of not being liked. And, already the podcast has stirred some reactions, some really great supportive DMs of, oh my God, thank you for sharing this. And then some to the contrary of like, I can't believe that you're sharing this information about blah, blah, blah. And I'm starting to get both sides, including my mother, who reached out to me this very morning about a disagreement about this memory that she had of something that happened that I shared in a different podcast. So my point is that today I've really had to lean into those fears of, oh my God, what if my mother doesn't approve of me? What if my children don't approve of me? What if my partner doesn't approve of me? And really leaning into those fears in another way so that I can really show up authentically. And not authentic as like a buzzword and a tagline, but am I really being authentic to who I truly am? Am I really being honest with who I truly am? Am I really being willing to see where I'm being unconscious and see where I'm being conscious? Or am I just going about the world giving my light, love, and power to everybody outside of me? And I'll share a very real example. I was in Los Angeles traveling with my boyfriend this weekend, and I was talking about, wow, like I feel so safe with you. And it's funny because even one of my first couple of podcasts was about the word safety, where today safety is really a feeling of warmth, a feeling of being supported, a feeling of like being held, of having your best friend have your back, this feeling. And it's funny because that word safety really came up this weekend. And I was talking about how that safety is allowing me to share my words, to share my heart in this podcast in a way that's completely unadulterated, unscripted, and I'm showing up and sharing from my heart every single week. And I was like, wow, I feel so safe with you. And I was sitting and reflecting and journaling in my journal at the airport a couple of days later. I was like, maybe I've been projecting my safety onto someone else, but really isn't my safety about me? So fast forward to my client this morning where she was talking about her walls. And what's really bizarre is we think that if we change our external circumstances, if we change our husband, we change our partner, we change our job, we change our careers. I've seen this in supporting countless entrepreneurs, and they say, well, that last business didn't work out. Let me try real estate. Let me try this. Let me try that. But what if it has nothing to do with your outsides and has everything to do with the inside? What if the degree to freedom from within was really connected to how safe we feel in expressing our truth, expressing our vulnerability, expressing our rawness? And it's not about expressing our rawness in a platform like this one. It's about really being willing to look at ourselves really, really openly. And like I said in the very beginning of this podcast, to be willing to be naked with our clothes on. What would that mean? And, with this client of mine, a type A Asian woman, just like myself, who is incredible, and she's doing awesome things in the world to really break the grapples of her culture. We talked about this power of vulnerability and this rawness. And she was sharing with me how for the past month, she'd been feeling really, really low and really, really sad. And she'd mentioned some wins along the last month where, Karishma, I'm starting to feel like I'm connecting deeper within myself. I'm connecting deeper within my heart. I'm able to be more vulnerable. And then on the flip side, also having this wall around her that's not letting her completely be raw within herself. It's not her fault, first of all, because somewhere along the way, at a very young age, and again, think of Asian upbringing, which she has, which I have, we weren't taught to express our emotions. We weren't taught to be sad, that it's okay to be sad. We weren't taught that it's okay to be angry. It's okay to feel powerless. It's okay to feel rage. And I've seen this not just with my minority clients, but I've also seen it with a lot of men. Because look at the role that we place on men in this society, where men haven't been allowed to truly be vulnerable. Men haven't truly been allowed to be emotional. And then no wonder what happens is because they're not taught it's okay to be sad, it's okay to be angry, it's okay to be this, that, and the other. All of those emotions get repressed and they come out full-fledged like rage. They come out full-fledged like alcoholism. They come out full-fledged like depression. And basically depression is squashing everything on the inside. Raging and alcoholism and all these things is projecting all that behavior on the outside. And so we were talking about this notion of safety. And I said, what would it look like for you to finally mother yourself? What would it look like for you to finally give yourself permission to know it's okay to be you? It's okay to be all of you. It's okay to be that sad little girl that is mourning life. It is okay to be lonely on the inside. And I'm here to tell you, these past few days have been so intense with my feelings. And just going back to LA, where I had 8 years of history, living through the throes of active alcoholism, living through many years of recovery, single parenting for some time, twins at that, This past weekend, I had very, very intense feelings of loneliness. And when these feelings come up, it's really easy to make ourselves wrong. It's really easy to say, what's wrong with you? It's really easy to rationalize and say, but wait a minute, why the hell would you be lonely? Because you've got it all. You've got X and you've got Y and you've got Z. But this time I know that, first of all, on some level, I was aware that loneliness wasn't real. It was all an illusion. And what's amazing is when we allow ourselves that vulnerability to be okay with how we feel. What's crazy is those feelings get amplified. Those feelings were not okay to be had before because I had squashed them. And I'll be completely honest, when I was in LA, I was extremely busy. I was so busy. I had the perfect social life. I had plenty of mom groups to hang out with. I had plenty of friends to hang out with, mom friends, Al-Anon recovery friends, work friends, like all of the above. And I had such a full and vibrant sort of social life. I never allowed myself the space to feel the loneliness, to feel like, oh my God, what is my life? Why do I feel so disconnected in my marriage? I never allowed myself that space and time to feel it. And I think unconsciously, I knew that if I actually stopped for a single evening, a single night, a single weekend, that loneliness would come flooding in. And that loneliness meant pain. That loneliness meant a realization that I wasn't willing to have in real time. And therefore, I squashed it. I squashed the loneliness. I squashed the sadness. I squashed the anger. And I created this beautiful, full and complete life despite my marriage. And what's amazing is here I am going back to the same space several years later, and I've gone back several times. But this time, because its safety has been there and is there today, I was able to feel all of it. And sometimes those feelings are really, really strong. And add on top of that, if you're empathic like me, oh my God, it is so intense. And I was sharing this experience with my client and saying, you know, when you allow yourself that space and safety to be you, you will feel more. But this time you have to make it okay for yourself to feel more. And the reason I'm sharing this is I can tell you in those moments of my greatest sadness, in the moments of my greatest anger, when I allow myself to simply sit in the discomfort of it all and to give myself permission to feel all that I feel, oh my God, underneath all of it, there's this incredible freedom. There's this incredible joy. There's this incredible feeling of being held. And what's amazing is that safety to be me isn't contingent on my bank account today. It's not contingent on me having a romantic relationship or not today. It's not contingent on me being a mom. It's simply in my ability to allow myself to finally be myself. And oh my God, there's such a freedom in that. You know, years ago, I had this other client who was about to file for divorce. And she was an Indian woman just like me. And her husband had cheated on her. She finally had the courage to leave her marriage. She left with her children. Like, oh my God, so much courage in this woman. And she got into a relationship with this man that she thought she would be with, a committed relationship with the man. And what ended up happening is he ended up breaking up with her and moving out of the country. And the words she said to me, and this is a woman who had displayed remarkable courage, had the courage to leave this toxic marriage, like moved out, figure it out, got on her own 2 feet, supported herself financially with her and their 2 kids. And she tells me, Karishma, well, when he went away, the new guy, my safety went away. To which I responded, but your safety isn't outside of you. Your safety is within you. Your safety is within you. No man, no bank account, no job, no parenting status, none of this stuff can take your safety away because your safety is within you. And how dare you give that power away to somebody else outside of you, because nobody can be that powerful. And the reason I'm going into this today is simply to help you reflect on your situation. Where are you giving your power away? Where have you deemed it unsafe for you to be all of you? Where have you deemed yourself unsafe to be in your light, your power? Because what's incredible is, like, I know as a woman, when I stand in my power, my authentic power, that means I no longer have to bulldoze through life in my masculine, which is what I was really great at doing. Which means that in my relationship, I can embody a softness and a tenderness and a vulnerability, which sometimes can be really scary because vulnerability means, oh my God, I might have to open my heart up and get hurt. But it allows me to have this softness within myself and a tenderness in my relationship so that I can love my partner. And I can also receive the love that he has for me. When I'm embodying my power as a mom, that means I have the ability to love my children so deeply and completely, to open my heart to them so deeply and completely, which sometimes can feel like heartache. But at the same time, for me to also be in my strength, for me to be in my truth, for me to step into who I really am, not the people pleasing good girl version of myself, which I can be sometimes, but for me to really stand in my truth of like, you know what? I am a strong mom. And I've got what it takes to get through this. And I've got what it takes to discipline my kids. I've got what it takes to demand the respect that I want in my household, to demand the peace that I want in my household, but also to reciprocate that respect, to reciprocate that vulnerability, to reciprocate that joy, because my kids will do what I show them, not what I tell them. And what would it look like for me to be in my power when it comes to finances? Where I'm not afraid of success. I'm not afraid of being myself. Or I'm not afraid of, oh my God, like I have to dim my life in order to be around her or him or that. I can just show up with full heart and show up to serve in a way that's really authentic and really aligned. And I can say yes to the right things, but more importantly, I can say no to the wrong things. So I really wanted to reflect on this notion of safety and how often we give our safety away to everybody else. But that safety that we're seeking isn't outside of us, it's within ourselves. And it's time for us to realize that we are enough. We are enough. We are worthy, and everything that we desire is within us. But do we have the courage to love ourselves so unconditionally, so fully, so deeply, so we can truly create that life on purpose that we deserve? And that, for me, is the embodiment of freedom. Thanks for listening.